Getting into the habit of saving, investing, and systematically building wealth for yourself is simple, but it's not easy. I believe that we should do the absolute maximum to build wealth, especially in our youth, because even though money is not the single most important thing, it is sometimes the only way to solve important things. In this video, I'm going to share with you the ideas that I follow to grow my investment portfolio and get my finances on track. So let's get started. To highlight, here are the 3 ideas I'm going to talk about. The first one is going to be getting into the habit of saving, which means maximizing your income and minimizing your expenses. Second, educate yourself and start small. And consistency and patience are your best friends when it comes to financial success. So starting with saving, the biggest thing is to understand how you can make the most and spend the least. Go top bottom, meaning that you should first identify what are the expenses that you spend the most on and try to minimize those before you start minimizing the smaller expenses. So for example, if your largest expense is rent, first figure out how you can reduce that expense by either having a better budget for your next lease, considering roommates, and so on. But saving is not derived only from how much less you're going to spend. You want to increase the delta between how much you make and how much you spend. So the other part is maximizing the amount that you make. And there are many opportunities to make more, which highly depend on your situation. If you're currently a student, your first task on this is to identify what are the highest paying jobs that you can apply to once you graduate, and then build a plan to be able to get to those jobs once you do graduate. Unfortunately, a quick online research can at least give you a ballpark for how much different jobs pay. Personally, I was never excited or passionate about working for another company. I was always eager to try anything of my own, which is why I ended up transitioning from physics to computer science, since I heard that computer science graduates have a much easier time landing higher paying jobs. So that's what I've done, so I could have a better time saving more money and therefore investing more money to create something of my own. So if you're still flexible with what career you're going to pursue, 2 starting points for high paying jobs are tech and finance. If you're beyond that point or you're not considering going back to university, then the easiest thing to do to increase your income would be either switching a company that will pay more for the same position or transitioning into a similar role that will pay more. If all else fails, you can always Uber and make another $1,000 working part-time if you're in the US, which is a substantial addition to your savings. So once you settle down and figure out how you can minimize your expenses, your rent, transportation, food, and how you can maximize your income to really stretch that delta to be as large as possible, you should put all of those numbers on a spreadsheet and make a plan to reach to at least $3,000 to $4,000 of savings every month in the next 3 years. Although that number depends on your personal financial goals. So write these goals down, where you want to be in 5 and 10 years, and then come up with a plan to maximize your savings by increasing your income, reducing your expenses, and then follow that plan for the long term diligently until you reach those goals and then figure out what's next for you. One small and important thing to remember on this is to not slash your expenses at the price of things that truly bring you joy. So for me, I love salsa dancing. So I would invest in salsa dancing classes weekly. And I would even go to salsa dancing socials outdoors, which are fortunately free. So make sure to keep the things that truly bring you enjoyment and happiness, but be deliberate on cutting off the things that don't as a trade-off. Once you're on track to grow your income and spend mindfully, it's time to start educating yourself about the basics of personal finance and investing. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, but frankly, just like you can teach yourself any other skill, you can teach yourself about finance. And the 3 main things to get started are inflation, capital markets, and tax efficiency. Inflation is the ingestion of cash into our economy. The way that this is done is that government agencies like the Federal Reserve, the Fed, will purchase fixed income instruments from private companies like a bond. And over time, they will have to pay back the principal of the bond with an additional interest. And that interest is that extra cash that is being ingested into the economy. And assuming all else being equal, the more cash is in the economy, the less each unit of it will be able to buy. So when we just keep cash, we lose what we can do with it over time. And this brings us to capital markets. Capital markets is a generic term, but what it basically means is that it's a market like any other, and the thing that is being bought or sold is capital, money. So if I'm a private company and I want to accelerate my growth, I will sell shares of my company at a stock exchange, which is part of the capital market, so that I could hire more or invest more money into R&D. And by you buying shares of a company that grows is one way to protect your wealth and build it over time rather than losing its value to the inflation. And by buying shares of a company that grows, your wealth also grows, and by extent, it is also protected from inflation. And capital markets give you the option to invest in virtually anything that you want, whether it's a stock of an individual company, an ETF, a fixed income instrument, or anything else. However, just like a company can grow and succeed, it can also fail. So investing carries risks. And therefore, you want to assess your risk tolerance and appetite for reward. If you're close to retirement and want something stable, perhaps diversified bonds is one option that you should consider. For me, as you might have seen in previous videos where I talk about my weekly options trading, I'm invested in few companies. So this carries a lot of risks, but it also gives me a better chance of making something out of virtually nothing. Once you understand what is your risk tolerance based on your current life situation, that's the time to open a brokerage account. And I also show you how to do that in a video that's linked to the top right corner of this video. Once you have opened a brokerage account and transferred some money, the important thing is that you start small and slowly progress as you get comfortable, regardless of whether you want to be conservative and invest only in ETFs or trade options weekly. Finally, tax efficiency. No matter what you invest your money in, whether it's an ETF on a recurring basis or real estate, you should always learn the tax implications around that investment. Different taxation laws apply to different investments. And I think the simplest example for that is long-term and short-term capital gains tax when you invest in the stock market. If you made a profit of $1,000 after selling a stock, if you held it for more than 1 year, then long-term capital gains tax will apply and you can be taxed a maximum of 20%. But if you held it for less than 1 year, short-term capital gains tax will apply and you can be taxed for up to 37%. Educating yourself about investing in personal finance doesn't end when you finish reading a book or when you're done researching an ETF that you want to buy and hold. I'm constantly reading about technology, the economy, and even geopolitics to make sure that whatever I do is not betting against where we're headed in the future. So the last and crucial part is being consistent. I also think that this is the hardest part because you really need to make sure that you're minimizing bad decisions that are going to end up eating lots of your future gains. No one is holding you accountable other than yourself. So it's on you to make sure that you increase your income, control your expenses, and make sound investment decisions. And if it's not enough, just like with physical fitness, to be financially fit, you need to keep doing it. When I had time, especially in summers and in between semesters, I would tinker with ideas, build a SaaS business, a niche website, even a fashion startup. They all failed, but not because they were bad ideas. In retrospect, others succeeded doing similar things. It's because I wouldn't commit to these things for 5 years or a decade and go through pivots and reflections and improvements to end up making something that really clicks. So whether it's personal finance, a business idea, or health, you really need to commit to it long term to reap the rewards. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more, check out the videos linked in the description below about trading options and investing in ETFs, and I'll see you next time. Bye.